Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to this Halloween edition of WrestleRamble. I am the undead Oliver Davis. This is the zombie Luke Owen. And today we're going to be doing quite a few non-Halloweeny things, actually. We'll be delving into the mailbag to answer your questions, including, should there be blood in wrestling? I guess that's kind of Halloweeny. A dream or nightmare? WrestleMania 34 cards, and how could the invasion storyline from the 2001 have been much better? If you want to go straight to any of those timestamps or discussion points, click the timestamps in the video description below to be taken right there, or stay right here. Well, we'll say Happy Halloween, everybody.
It is legit one of my favourite times of the year.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of Halloween, and me and my lady partner were talking about this, that it's great that our anniversary is going to be around Halloween each and every year. It's just like double reason to celebrate. Just love Halloween, man. It's awesome.
Stranger Things Series 2 will be out by this point.
Yep.
You can just watch the new series every year with instead of
pretty much it.
Celebrating your anniversary. Sorry, got some nuts. Oh my God, there are some nuts in my throat.
Just always choking on nuts.
We do eat, this isn't even a stupid innuendo. We do eat nuts. We've got a lot of nuts. They're good food for healthy fats.
Although I think that you are a bit weird, because I like eating nuts. I get the little Graze packets because they come with like peppered cashews, which I love. I really like very peppery things with some like edamame beans and things like that, and chickpeas. Love all that sort of stuff. However, you, my friend, very weirdly eat cashews unsalted.
Yeah, straight up cashews.
It tastes weird.
Well, they taste how cashews taste without any frills.
Which are weird.
They just taste like slightly sweet nuts.
Yeah, they're just a bit rubbish, cashews on their own.
Well, they're a lot healthier that way.
Salted cashews, though.
So, it is Halloween. Luke doesn't know this, but I went round I did about a 10-minute radius of walking around the studio. The best I could find. Woo! It's a children's skeleton mask. Look.
Oh, that is something fantastic. And you want to try and make this. So
should we make the Undertaker a bit further in? Although he glares, damn it.
Yeah. Well,
for podcast listeners, we are decorating the set in a Halloween festivities. Do you think this is going to fit on here? This is very precariously balanced as it is.
Yeah, don't mess up my set, man.
Oh.
It's sort of...
Yeah! So we've got a skeleton mask in the background now. Do you want to see what else I got?
Yeah, what else did you manage to pick up?
I got some permanent markers, unbranded.
Spooky.
They're not Sharpies. Yeah, so nothing else. Some masking tape. That could be scary later on.
Yeah.
And the emoji symbol for sex. For a penis. I bought an aubergine. Which is, you see, I've got some peppers in there as well, and a courgette.
Is this for your dinner this evening?
I'm going to make dinner tonight.
This feels like a really naff version of Can't Cook, Won't Cook.
Yes.
Is it Can't Cook, Won't Cook, where they used to bring in a bag? You had £5 to spend at your local supermarket, and you'd come back with like some tomatoes, a shoe, and you'd be like, right, now make something delicious.
I'm just can't cook. Is the way I do it.
I was going to say, you're not particularly great in the old kitchen, are you?
It's nothing. I reckon if I put my mind to it, I could be, but I'm not interested in the slightest. And my lady partner's a very good cook, so I'm like, okay, that's your thing. I can drive. That'll be my thing.
Yeah.
Let's get into our gender normative roles. And we'll just keep it like that. I'll take the bins out, you clean the kitchen.
I love cooking.
Yeah, well, I wish I did love cooking, but it's just, it intimidates me. Once my lady partner was doing some cooking, and she said, oh, could you just put together a salad? And I looked at her, I was like, I don't know what that means.
That's like the easiest thing to do in the world. It's just a bit of prep.
What is it? What's a salad?
Cut up some lettuce, cucumber, tomatoes, pepper.
How do you cut them up?
Well,
this is the thing, like a pinch of salt. What's a pinch?
Well, you know what a pinch is. You know, if I pinch you, do that action, but with salt.
So I do a Chinese burn of pepper.
No.
I don't know. And then I said that she laughed at me for not knowing how to prepare a salad. And I said, okay, Let's put you in my world. Why don't you knock up a quick sequence on Adobe Premiere Pro?
Well, that's
right?
That's a bit different though. Like knocking up a quick sequence on Adobe Premiere Pro is a bit more specialized. Like
it's just two buttons for the shortcut.
I know, but if you're looking at that, you're like, well, I don't know. Like looking at that, a layman person or someone who has never approached Premiere Pro before will look at that and be like, well, this is just madness. If you put a lettuce in front of you and a knife, you're not going to go like, I don't know what either of these two things are. Like, how do these two go together?
That's what I'm like. You're now just insulting how I see food. I know it tastes good. I love eating it. I don't know what happens in between.
Well, that is madness.
There we go. Well, I'll try and get better at it. Maybe it could be a WrestleMania. New Year, 24, 28. I'm just going to stop talking.
Just stop talking there. You haven't reminded me, but I've reminded myself. Because we are recording this well in advance. So, although it is Halloween when you're watching this, I'm not in the country. I'm miles away. We're actually recording this on the 17th of October.
Yeah.
And on Sunday, I had a walking dream. I sleptwalked.
Oh yeah. Or do you not want to save this for tomorrow's episode?
Oh, we'll actually do it. Yes,
because that's in real time then.
Yeah, but the problem I didn't want to do it on those episodes because you were so pressed for time.
Yeah,
talking about Raw and SmackDown. But yeah, we'll save it for then.
We've got the predictions video. This is all in the past for you.
Yeah, you'll actually already know this story.
But I tell you what, something that has just happened. You just got married.
I did just
That's
get married.
That's why we're recording in advance.
Because I'm currently on my honeymoon in Reykjavik when you're watching this. So yes, I got married. How was the day?
I assume it was good. I'm apologising for the scene I must have caused I'm going to do something on the dance floor.
Yeah, you reckon?
I don't know what. I think it's going to involve spinning around a lot,
real
fast.
We just finalised the playlist and sent it across to our DJ, which did include your request.
Because, tell everyone how you picked the songs.
So when we asked people to RSVP, they could go onto the website that I had built and just put in, like, if you play this song, I will dance to it. And you requested...
Bobby Roode's Glorious. I'm pretty sure.
No.
Carly Rae Jepsen, Call Me Maybe?
No.
Shinsuke Nakamura's?
No. You requested
What did
Tonto.
I request?
Jump on it.
Oh, I did, yeah. Yeah. The Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah, the Sugar Hill Gang, yeah.
Right, cool, yeah. Good.
So
I
thought
I had I've got a whole dance for that.
Yeah.
It's based on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode, of course.
Absolutely, of course. Apache, that's what the song's called. I was trying to think what it was on top of my head.
Toto Jump On It.
I was going to say... Oh, no, it's not Toto, I said Tonto.
Oh, right.
That's the lyric.
So, any other Halloween business to clear? Or before we actually ramble about other stuff?
Yeah.
It's been a particularly rambly beginning.
Halloween 6 isn't a very good movie, but the production history behind it is utterly fascinating.
That's a hot take. So, crap gimmicks. These are a horror, aren't they? Because it's for a horrible roster.
I was going to say, I don't know why you didn't bring that when you mentioned, like, you were trying to make things seem Halloween themed when you were introducing the episode, and you said the invasion, which was an actual nightmare.
Yeah.
And yet you just went like, and the invasion.
Well, I'd already used the word nightmare for the dream card.
Oh, I see.
So, my brain doesn't like repeating stuff in the same sentence. From Daniel Bramlett first. What's his horror name?
Daniel Bram Stokerlet.
Oh, that's good. I was going to go with Daniel Bram Let Me Go. Bram Let Me Go. You're eating my arm.
Bram Let the right one in.
That's also good. Winner is over here. Okay, so this is their crap gimmick suggestion. A mid-card heel named High Roller. He comes to the ring in a suit, quite like Jack Gallagher, but he's more about taking bets in the ring. After he hits a big move, sometimes he'll run out the ring to someone in the crowd and try to make a bet with them that he'll win in a flashy way. His finisher will be called Rolling Roulette. It starts off as a pop-up powerbomb, then he rolls them up to deliver another powerbomb, and ends it with a rolling senton. After he is victorious, he walks out to that fan, takes their money. As he makes his way up the ramp, he slowly turns around and rolls the dice on the stage and leaves, and every time he wins, the dice say lucky roll as the camera cuts to him as he leaves the stage.
Okay.
What do you think of High Roller?
The name's naff.
That's good. It's a good start.
Good start.
I think the end is he's got a strong end, a crap end as well.
Yeah.
With the lucky roll, because that would have to. What would happen? He would roll the dice, and you wouldn't see the dice, and then the cameraman would start to go over to it, and then it would have a really awkward cut to have the lucky roll at the top of the dice.
Yeah.
Because you can't plan that, can you?
No, but I was about to say, unless you loaded the dice to always land where you wanted them to be.
Oh yeah, you could gimmick the dice.
Yeah.
But that's not really true in the sense of professional wrestling. You don't want to gimmick stuff.
No. Well, no, you would never gimmick stuff in wrestling. Absolutely not. I don't quite follow the finishing move though.
It's a hell of it. So a pop-up powerbomb.
Yeah.
And then I assume he does a sort of roll over them. Oh, geez, that's not going to work, is it? He rolls them up to deliver another powerbomb. So he's just trying to... He wants it... I mean, I think Doug Williams' old Chaos Theory finisher would be better suited to the rolling roulette
Absolutely, yeah.
Thing. But, yeah, that doesn't really work. I do like the crowd participation. Of course, that would have to be a plant in the crowd who loses their money.
And the other thing as well is if you are going to do something like the Chaos Theory suplex, that is a move that can get over.
Yeah,
it's a big flashy move. And that is something everyone goes, oh my God, did you see that awesome move? And then into when you're in dangerous territory then of getting over.
Yeah, I like some of the bits of it, but I don't think it's a crap enough concept.
No.
For us to sign. I'm sorry, Daniel Bram let the right one in. Daniel Bram let the dogs out. It's not really. It's just a pun, isn't it? It's not a Halloween thing. Armando Gonzalez. Horror name?
Yeah.
Armando.
Yeah, I was going arm as well.
I'm trying to think something in the arm there.
Yeah. We'll
Let's carry on.
Let's carry on.
Right, so Armando writes in via email. Average Joe is a man who always gets lost on his way to watch the wrestling promotion in his town, with an attire of a green polo shirt, blue jeans and black tennis shoes, and a haircut similar to Oli Davis. Since he's always lost within the stadium, he somehow manages to get in the ring from the entrance stand. Let's say Mark Indy is already in the ring, and instead of fighting the Beastmaster, he wrestles Average Joe since he's somehow got to the ring before the Beastmaster. His matches would consist of running away and screaming, also the occasional tripping over his own foot. The only move he can perform are slaps and weak kicks, since he isn't trained. He only wins by count-out, since his opponent chases Joe down around the ring.
See, now the problem with this one, I foresee, is that he's not Average Joe. He's Rubbish Joe.
Oh, right.
An
so
average,
there's a difference.
Yeah, well, an Average Joe would be like the most plain person, which he does sound, particularly with the haircut. But it's when he kind of gets lost that makes him Bumbling Joe.
Yeah.
Running around the ring sort of makes him Clumsy Joe. Mm-hmm. It doesn't scream Average Joe to me.
I see what you mean, but everything else...
Although, saying that, Dodgeball Average Joes were a group of misfit losers.
What's that?
You know, the movie Dodgeball.
Oh, right. They're called Average... That's the gym, is it?
Average
I
Joe's
remember
Gym.
Now. Against Ben Stiller's...
Globo Gym.
Gym. So I love the concept, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm really into this. Maybe it's because he's used people we've signed. I
thought that might interest you.
He's fleshing out the universe of the crap gimmick roster. You've got Mark Indy in there, Beastmaster. Kind of forgot Beastmaster was a thing until just now. What animal is Beastmaster going to come out as? And I like I think because that would really annoy me if this is it's a bad comedy gimmick in the best way, and that he could beat legitimate foes by running into the ring at the end of a 10 count as he's trying to escape them. That could grate on me as well. I don't have a problem with the name, but I see your point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm into Average Joe.
That's right. I mean, I'm one to step back and say that, hey, it might not be for me, but you see something in him.
Yeah, should we sign him to developmental?
Yes,
and we can work on the... Yeah. Let's do that. Okay, well done.
I'm going to post.
Always good for podcast
There was
listeners.
a great tweet from Triple H recently, because they've just signed, obviously now we're in the past, they've just signed Lio Rush to NXT. And he put up a tweet with him doing the Triple H pose with Lio Rush, being like, this is the perfect place for development to happen. Essentially saying, like, don't go on the indies. The indies, you'll never learn anything. Come to the developmental center where we can, like, nurture young talent into the WWE style.
Yeah, tell you to slow down. Tell you all the cool things that made your style different. get rid of those.
All your big flip-de-doos, knock that off.
No, you want psychology. You want to tell stories. The same story. The same 4 stories over and over again.
Because the WWE believe that if you're doing flip-de-doos, you can't tell a story,
No.
despite the fact the two do mix very well.
No, Luke, they're mutually exclusive. I can't concentrate on emotion if a guy is defying gravity and really impressing me. I saw, so this again is also in the past. I guess 2K18 is released and then some by now. But someone had uploaded to Reddit. It was Triple H. It was a tag team of Triple H and Triple H, and they just won some form of tag team tournament. So they're in the ring with a sort of a Mae Young Classic style trophy. You know, the big trophies NXT make, and they're both there, and it's like long hair Triple H and shaved head Triple H, and that's funny enough as it is.
Yeah.
Who walks to the ring to congratulate them but suit Triple H? And they're all in the ring, and he's raising their hand, but they've all got different mannerisms because it's the template they're working off of. It is very funny. I watched that at 6:15 in the morning, and I'm cackling out loud when you shouldn't be making that much noise. And finally, for the crap gimmicks, one from Rollerball Rocco, Bever Locke, one of our long-time listeners and Patreon backers. Thank you. Writes, he's a supernatural. Well, I'm a South African supernatural pilgrim. He's a supernatural pilgrim, very big and brooding, slow and lumbering. His outfit is very reminiscent of The Undertaker. Lots of black, leather, but just a bit too many buckles everywhere. His hat, jacket, arms, belt and shoes all have buckles. He speaks in Old English. His finishing moves are the Mayflower, a big boot that sends wrestlers sailing across the sea.
Nice.
The setup for the Plymouth Rock, a middle rope senton. He's a very foreign heel-like character. He preaches against current American culture, since his mindset is about 400 years in the past. He thinks King James I is still alive, and that his opponents are all representatives of him, a fact that just confuses the other wrestlers. Rollerball Rocco is a man after my history-loving heart right here, with, of course, the Pilgrims and the sailing from Plymouth to America.
I sometimes forget you're a big lover of the past.
Yeah. Well, it's like the news, but more interesting because it's gone through a big filter of time.
That was my friend's argument. When I was at university, 2 of my housemates used to get into very silly arguments about stupid things. And one of them was he was studying American history. That was his degree. And the other guy was studying IT, the most generic thing you can study when at university.
Studying it.
He was studying it, that's correct. And every time Gary was the guy who was the IT guy and Jono was the American history one, every time Gary just felt like he was starting to lose the argument, he would just childish shout, "Oh, why didn't you tell me what happened yesterday, John?" Because that's all he could come up with. Because
that's annoying.
It's annoying.
Yeah, well done. Do you remember the History Boys quote from Alan Bennett in the play?
You are saying things that are far too smart.
It was a movie with James Corden in, so that dumbs it down a fair few notches.
I actually went to the preview screening. Like, you know when they do like audience test screenings? I went to that.
So they hadn't done all the CGI yet?
Yeah, they hadn't done all the CGI. Like, all the spaceships and stuff weren't in there yet. But they, I don't remember a single thing about it, though.
Okay, well, there's a famous line from it where Russell Tovey? He's gone on to be a good actor in his own right. He says, "What's the point of history?" I'm paraphrasing here. "What's the point of history? It's just one effing thing after another." Which is very good. Yes, so roll it back to the gimmick.
Rolling back to Rollerball Rocco's gimmick.
You know what the real flaw in this though? He hasn't got a name.
No.
That's the most important part of a crap gimmick.
Yeah, and also I think I got a little bit confused with all the buckles and then being in the
buckles.
I like the buckles, but when you just say buckles everywhere, I just think of Adam Buxton, but B, I then think of a goth in the 1990s.
Yeah, just buckles. Well, I think that's essentially what it is. If that was almost cumbersome, I like the idea of him making his way to the ring, but it's too much
too
and
jangly.
He struggles to get it off, but he's still very stuffy. Yeah, I do like the Mayflower and the Plymouth Rock and everything like that. But the King James I bit is a bit too. It's bad in the wrong way. For us. So I'm sorry, we're gonna have to pass on whatever that guy's name was. Oh my God, look at the size of that mailbag, Luke.
It's among the biggest I've ever seen, and I've watched many Riley Reid videos.
I don't know who that is. So first up, we have Phil Stopford, sometimes known as Phil Ain't No Stopping Ford now known as Britain's Next Top Model, Phil Stopford. He has contributed via Patreon and asked...
I would like to say that this is the hardest question we've ever been sent in through a mailbag, considering that we had, I'd say, upwards of 3 minutes to prep.
Yeah, so it's a big... Oh, there's a lot of... So it's a big question, and we have not stuck to the remit. What we've just...
I've tried my best.
Oh, past and present.
I might have missed that.
Okay, Phil. We might have to do your question again next month. We read it and read, create your perfect WrestleMania card. But actually, the sentence before that is past and present.
Oh, that's even bigger, though.
Yeah, that's enormous.
I don't even know how I would even begin to tackle that.
Yeah, so I guess you book all your dream matches. So you could have, like, I don't know, finally Undertaker versus John Cena, CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm doing it now off the cuff. Who's the greatest tag team of all time? Yeah, but, things like that. I'll read out the entire question, and then we can explain how we haven't done that.
Yeah.
Okay, past and present, create your perfect WrestleMania card or your biggest event. It must include 8 matches and must have a world title, tag title, women's title, and mid-card title. Then what and whomever else you'd like to use to create your dream card. Any match types allowed, so you could have a 6-way match for the world title, for example.
I think a lot of people do this on those WWE 2K18 games, because you have the option to create matches with current day stars, with WWE legends, and those who have left this mortal coil.
Are you proposing fantasy warfare that gets real?
Fantasy warfare,
like
it's just like a video game.
So what we have done is we have just booked a few matches for this upcoming WrestleMania.
Based on the current roster that we have, and as I said, I think we had upwards of 3 minutes prep time to do this, so I've literally just written down a load of matches, not really taking it seriously.
Because originally we weren't going to have this in there because we were like, oh my God, that's such a big question. We're going to have to actually spend a couple of hours each thinking about this. But I was like, no, we've got to get it in because you're going away on for your wedding. So, and you just said WrestleMania card, and we did that. So I'm sorry, Phil. We will try and get back to this next month. But do you want to take yours away?
Yeah.
So this is WrestleMania 34.
WrestleMania 34. What I've essentially done is I've just tried to look at or think of who we've got on the current rosters and try and pick out what I think would probably be the best matches that we could get out of the card that we currently have. So I've got Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor for the Universal Championship, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship, Gil Anderson versus The Revival for the Raw Tag Team Championships, The Shield versus A Called Up Sanity from NXT, Alexa Bliss versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship, finally Asuka getting her chance at the Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bobby Roode versus Luke Harper for the United States Championship. Now, I did put some thought into this because I thought, what a great feud that is. Glorious Bobby Roode with his lovely suit and his nice robe against dirty, scrubby Luke Harper with his horrible shirt and his messy hair and his bushy beard.
But he doesn't dress like that anymore. Well, he's a bludgeon brother.
Well, like you did with your fantasy booking warfare, I have chosen to ignore that. Oh, yeah. Because we're recording this before SmackDown, mate, we don't even... This is the thing.
Oh, wow, yeah.
By the time this airs, the Bludgeon Brothers might not be a thing. Or they might be something...
crossed.
Or they might be something huge.
They could be champions. Could have gotten over huge. What a fascinating insight. This is like a time capsule that we've buried.
But a very short time capsule. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should record thought video now.
Let's do more work, Luke, because we haven't already got an unmanageable content schedule. Yeah, good. Let's just chuck a few more videos onto the pile. 3 a day. I can't do it. But carry on with your card.
So Bobby Roode versus Luke Harper for the United States Championship. Obviously, Bobby is a heel. Sammy and Kevin versus the Usos in ladder warfare for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Cedric Alexander versus Enzo Amore for the Cruiserweight Championship. Again, kind of in my head, Enzo never lost the title. He's almost holding it captive. And then you've got the beautiful babyface Cedric Alexander going to take it from him. And then finally, getting rid of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view and just putting Money in the Bank on WrestleMania where it belongs, with Jason Jordan, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Ty Dillinger, Baron Corbin, and Roderick Strong, called up from NXT. Great chance for Roddy to get on there. And then a really big Fashion Files WrestleMania special with lots of guest stars.
That is great. That is a really good last shout. I also maybe you could even have a tournament in NXT that Roddy could win to get that spot like Hideo Itami did.
Yes, absolutely.
Where's the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal?
Oh, I haven't. I have not factored that in because, as we all know, the winners of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal go on to major things. Mojo Rawley. Who else? Big Show
twice.
No, he's won it once.
I thought he won it twice.
No, Cesaro won it the first time round.
Yeah.
And eliminating the Big Show. And Baron Corbin.
Oh, yeah, of course. So
sad. I don't know all the bloody winners of that.
That is a really good card.
Thanks, man.
Mainly because it doubles up on a lot of the ones I've chosen, which is strange because some of there's no Roman. Well, I guess there's no John Cena in here. I didn't have John Cena either.
No, actually, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of Big Match John, or I didn't have Triple H's big WrestleMania match in there either,
yes.
Or Goldberg's, or Kurt Angle's.
Yeah, because I don't know how you approach yours, but I just thought, what are the matches I would most like to see? And I essentially booked a Ring of Honor, little bit of WWE pay-per-view, really. That's unfair. There's a lot of WWE in here, but it's got a real Ring of Honor supercard feel. I only did seven matches because I don't like long shows. So Mustafa Ali versus Enzo Amore.
Fun fact for you, I originally had Mustafa Ali down first and then changed it to Cedric.
So Amore's the champion in this. And I've been a real big fan of what Mustafa Ali's been doing recently. I think his facials, the way he interacts with Enzo, they seem to have something in those matches. And as much as I love Cedric, I haven't really... he's a great wrestler, but I feel like this is a nicer story. I've got the Shield versus the Wyatt family, because I'm not letting that one go. Because it seems like the Shield are going to be done after, I imagine, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
When really, it would be nice if they stayed together for ages and finished putting over a new act.
Yeah, but your problem is that you've got to have Roman face Brock at WrestleMania.
Not in my card. Not in your card either. I had Samoa Joe versus Cesaro.
I didn't have Joe on the card. What an oversight on my part.
What a hard-hitting match that would be. I think that would be a corker. But chuck a sort of mid-card belt on that, the IC strap. Samoa Joe versus Cesaro I could get into in a big way. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
How could you not want
it? This is a weird one that we both had. And I thought I was being pretty out the box, but you had exactly the same thing. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos in a ladder match.
What a great match that would be.
I think, because Owens and Zayn know their way around the ladder. If you've seen any of their ladder wars from Ring of Honor, and of course the Usos are just a great. They've got their splashes from the top rope. I just want to see the Usos in a ladder match.
It's been your dream all year long,
and it hasn't happened. They've had every other kind of match with the New Day, but so I had that down, and I also had in my sort of co-main event, really highlighting the women, Charlotte. Mm-hmm. With a lot of the WWE women in her corner, mainly the 4 horsewomen, obviously, versus Ronda Rousey with the MMA women in her corner.
Excellent shout. Good marquee match.
So I thought that, that's a co-main event level. And the main event would be Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor. For the title Balor never lost.
Yeah.
There's a great story in there, but they don't really want to tell it. And you need to package Balor with the club.
Yeah.
Because Paul Heyman would not destroy him because he's very good at elevating the other person's promos.
Yeah, remember that Paul Heyman promo that really sort of went nowhere, where he was saying we don't want you to win. You're the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. I can't remember.
It was something like that because 2 weeks later he goes, I said that, but Samoa Joe, you're the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm confused. But it speaks so well, you kind of let that slide, don't you? So yeah, that's what I had
Interesting.
on my card. Next up, we have Arnie K. The K, interesting fact, stands for the coolest dude ever. He's gone in touch on Patreon as well and writes, I don't know if you've had it before, but what is, in your minds, the crappiest gimmick in the wrestling world and the best? So not the crappiest gimmick in our little wrestling world where we've signed many a superstar or understar. I don't know what they would be called. But yeah, this is in the actual wrestling. I've done mine current. I couldn't. There's too much to choose from in the history.
I was going to say, I think within the wrestling world, that I took that to mean the current as well. And at the moment, I've actually got the same as you for worst, although I also have another option as well.
Should I say mine and then you say yours? I went for Bray Wyatt.
Easily, speak of a man who's just had a dreadful 2017 and had a dreadful 2016 for the most part. Didn't have a great 2015 either. It's like ever since he had that feud with John Cena, it's like his gone to a nosedive. It's like an Ultimate Warrior promo.
It's more because we know Bray Wyatt can talk. We know he can have a decent match and he can be carried to very good matches. I'm thinking of Daniel Bryan and those encounters, and all the 6-man tags with the Shield. But it's like the frustration and the crappiness comes from you have a perfect character with Bray Wyatt already. He's the cult leader who's very good at talking people into following him. But Vince McMahon is obsessed with making him a supernatural force, which really undermines the threat and credibility of him.
Yeah, completely agree.
So yeah, that I have Bray.
And I thought someone to add in for the crappiest gimmick in the wrestling world as of this moment is Roman Reigns.
I thought no, but that's...
Because, here's my arguments for that, is that it is a gimmick that is intended to get him over, and it's got him further under. So, therefore, by definition, it's the crappiest gimmick in the world, because you've given him a gimmick to make him a top guy, and what you've done is just turned everyone against him. So it's damaged him more than benefits him. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that I 100% agree with that, but I think that if you kind of write that down on paper, there is an argument to be made for that.
I feel like WWE think they're doing okay with Reigns. I think they think that Reigns is this divisive character and he's a tweener. There's no bad guys and good guys anymore. He gets cheers and he gets booed. As long as he's getting a reaction, this gimmick's working.
100%.
So I would disagree with Reigns being on there, especially as the crappiest gimmick in the world.
As I said, I think there is an argument to be made, not saying that I 100% agree with it.
What did you go for the best?
Actually, at the moment, talk about a gimmick that has been, it felt like they came up with it, or like it was given to them, they kind of worked on it, and they've turned it from a pile of, they would say, chicken poop into chicken salads. The Fashion Police.
I don't know how to make a chicken salad. Sorry, I needed to call back. But yeah, that's a really good shout. I didn't even think of that.
What a great gimmick, because they've made a complete career. Talk about a career renaissance in 2017. They went from a complete joke act in 2015 and 2016, whenever it was, an act that everyone was like, poor Tyler Breeze, lumbered with Fandango, just going absolutely nowhere, just doing absolutely nothing with it. And then after just a couple of months, they're one of the hottest acts on SmackDown now. And they're an act that people are really into, really loving the fashion files. The reaction they got on last week's SmackDown, obviously this is in the past, so a few weeks ago on SmackDown, when they had the multi-person match to crown a new number one contender, it was a giant ovation for them, and everyone was super excited for them to get into the match. That, for me, is a great gimmick. I'm not saying it's the best gimmick in the world, but it's certainly one of the best ones in WWE right now.
Definitely in terms of turning something around and the whole chicken salad saying. And at Hell in a Cell, I believe it was in Detroit, I haven't for a while heard a crowd pop like that for a pre-taped intro sequence. When that Fashion Files logo came up, the crowd were there was a genuine roar of happiness, and I was the same at home. So the best in the wrestling world.
The answer you've got here is completely the correct answer.
Yeah, I think there's no argument. It's got to be the Bullet Club. I know that's a faction rather than like one single gimmick. So I guess more specifically, I would say the Young Bucks, because they have managed to capture this sort of version of wrestling fandom better than anyone I've seen. Like, Colt Cabana was the prototype for it in terms of putting out his podcast and connecting with fans directly. This new kind of wrestler who doesn't really treat kayfabe in the same way. Like, he treats the fans with almost as much respect as we treat the wrestlers. And that's what the Young Bucks are doing, and they're doing it to enormous effect with just being merchandise machines. Every single thing that could possibly go wrong for them, within an hour, they've turned it into the best-selling T-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Absolutely.
And just, yeah, it's weird how fresh they feel when a large portion of their act, well, or at least superficially, is taken from recycling previous gimmicks from other acts.
Stuff from 20-odd years ago.
So the Suckets, the two sweets. Yeah, it's just, that they are so much fun to watch. Anyone who says that they are killing wrestling, they probably are for their form of wrestling. But I much prefer to think of it as they are genuinely bringing wrestling into a new age of wrestling.
I completely agree. I think Meltzer put it really well on Twitter when people often go to him and say, like, how can you like the Young Bucks? They're killing wrestling X, Y, and Z. And Meltzer says, I'm paraphrasing here, so I'm not going to say words directly from the mouth of Meltz, but he essentially puts it as like, they are doing what every wrestler will be doing in 10 years' time. And like they have, you're right, they've connected to a wrestling audience that previously like didn't know they wanted to be connected to that way. They have used social media to its apex of like connecting with fans. They've created this amazing little YouTube series. It's funny, of the lads on Gorilla Position, when they did the Bullet Club Invasion, they did that as part of like one of their news stories. And the guy reading the news story had no idea who the Young Bucks were, had no idea who Hangman Page was or Mighty Skull. He said, he goes, but I watched this invasion video, and you know what? The video was really well edited. I was surprisingly really well edited. It was really well put together. There were adverts in there advertising their merchandise, and it made me interested in the Young Bucks, and it made me interested in Hangman Page and Mighty Skull. That's how good they are. Someone who is a wrestling fan who's never heard of them before watched one video and they're like, I might check out some of their stuff. Like, you know, now I want to buy a t-shirt of theirs. They're great.
Paul E. Dangerously Jarman has written via Patreon a very brief question here. Blood/cutting in wrestling, yes or no?
This
is horror themed. This is Halloween themed.
Blood in wrestling.
This is where I've got a big tub of blood that's gonna, or viscous liquid that's
please.
Gonna pour on your head.
Yeah, big.
We don't have the budget. I can only find the thing.
So blood in wrestling, when used at the right time in the right feuds, absolutely, it really can add to a feud and to a match. Don't do it in every single match because otherwise it just starts to lose its emphasis. But and don't do it in every pay-per-view. Just like save it for big shows, save it for really big storylines, your hottest angles, because then it just kind of adds a lot more to it. Cutting in wrestling. Now I know your stance on this, so I'll let you take that shortly. And I don't particularly like the idea of cutting in wrestling. It does feel like something of like the old days of wrestling. It just seems a bit dangerous, especially then when you see people like New Jack and Devon and Abdullah the Butcher, and you just see these horrible scars over their head where they've just bladed themselves over the years, and you just think, man, like, what was it for? So yeah, I mean, but blood in wrestling, I do think really does add to story.
Yeah, definitely. It's like when you say blood, I'm just going to assume you mean the visual of blood, right? So not real, or not, it could be fake blood that we're talking about here. In which case, definitely 100%. Yes, blood in wrestling. Like you said, though, not all the time. There was a reason you'd have blood feuds. So I guess one way to make a feud feel important is a championship belt. Another way is a number one contendership for said championship belt. But then, aside from that, apart from jockeying for position over your main titles, what other reason is there to fight? Okay, so that's where you have like the blood feud idea. And in those blood feud ideas, because they're so personal, you go for the other person more than you would. So yeah, like the clues in the name there, definitely use the blood for those blood feuds to make them on the same level as those title jockeying matches. That's how I would certainly do it.
Great example of that is Shawn Michaels Triple H at SummerSlam 2002.
What a match! Yeah.
Wasn't for a title. It wasn't for jockeying position. It wasn't a number one contention match. It was a blood feud. It was two best friends turned enemies, beating the piss out of each other.
Yeah, it's a great example. Now, the second part, cutting in wrestling, yes or no? That's like if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have been, it's wrestling, cut blood, it's great, that's how they do it, it's safe. But now, I think I was sort of obviously young and a bit more naive, or what's naive, just arrogant, whatever the word is. And it's like you can't see the wood through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've not been subjected to blood nearly as much as we used to be in the non-PG days. It really does expose it as being out of place and something of a bygone era. So blood as a visual tool, fake, like I've seen plays and stuff, and they really close up, and they use blood capsules so well. I couldn't tell the difference, and it looked great. I don't see why they can't, like WWE can't have an R&D department where they invest in how best to trick people. Like that's what was it Chris Angel and all the big magicians, Penn and Teller, they recruit all the best magicians in the world to come up with new tricks for the Las Vegas acts. Like, why don't WWE have a division like that, where they're always coming up with new ways to do cool stuff in front of a live audience? Instead, it's just like, oh, look, now we've obviously cut to a pre-tape promo where Finn Balor's transitioning into Pumpkin King. So, yeah, I would like to do away with cutting entirely and just make it all a gimmicked version of that. And finally, from Hard as Nails, Nick Schiff, also via Patreon, he asks quite a big one.
This is a big one.
This is a biggie. Would the WCW Invasion storyline have actually been better if they had more of the core wrestlers from the company, WCW? Also, if Triple H wasn't injured during this storyline, would he have been able to make things more interesting? He was arguably the top heel in the WWE at the time. You guys always talk about how botched it was, and for good reason, but I feel it still could have been an awesome storyline if it was done right.
Yeah, so arguable that Triple H was the biggest heel at the time, because I'd certainly say that Austin was the biggest heel at the time.
Yeah, because it turned by then. It was
it was just before. Would it have worked? Here's the issue. You're right, absolutely 100%. That inaugural brawl that they did, the WWF versus the Alliance, like if you watch like the 4 weeks leading up into the Invasion pay-per-view, where the company just had no idea what they were doing. They had no idea what direction they were heading in. They knew they had like an end goal, but they just, week to week, they just changed their minds on how they were getting there. So, week 1, WCW are the good guys, and they are just out-of-work people who are looking to make a name for themselves. So, week 2, we're going to have a new WCW TV show. It's going to take over Raw, and we're going to move WWE to Thursday nights, and that's going to be SmackDown, and we're going to have a WCW show. No, that match didn't work. Alright, grand. So, next week, that's all gone. So now we're going to bring ECW into this. Right, cool. And then they're going to team with WCW because we're lacking in star power. Oh, what? Why is that happening? Oh, they're now the Alliance. Stephanie McMahon owns ECW. Why is this happening? Then you get to the actual Invasion. Spoilers. Austin turns heel. He's now leading the Alliance. So your top WWF guy is now leading the WCW team and the ECW team. Just a complete cluster F mess. Didn't really know where they were going. So, even then, would it have been better with top guys? Would that inaugural brawl would have been better if you had, like, Austin, Angle, Kane, Undertaker, and Jericho versus Hogan, Flair, Sting, Goldberg, and, say, Scott Steiner or DDP? Like, if these were your 5, those were your top 5 guys. Yeah, it would have been a much better match. But you're still in that position where they didn't know where they were going. And it was, I don't care what Bruce Pritchard says in this podcast, because it's a load of baloney, if you ask me. WWF were not interested in putting over WCW. They were afraid of making WCW look like a credible threat because it would make WWF look weak. So they were never going to give WCW the time of day, even if they were like the top guys coming in. So, yeah, would it have been better on paper? Yes, but in reality, it would have been the same.
Yeah, I echo pretty much everything you said. And the Invasion storyline was always going to end up being about the McMahons. It's very difficult for most major storylines of that significance, especially when it's so tied to Vince's identity, the Monday Night Wars. It was always going to become a family affair over the more interesting inter-promotional affair that it was. So yeah, but undoubtedly it would have been a lot better with those big names right at the start from WCW. Triple H, those would have all made it better, but it wouldn't. That's not the. It's definitely like 40% of the problem that was missing, but there's a huge chunk there as well.
I think it really was just a very poor timing because Triple H was injured the entirety of the Invasion. Benoit was injured for the entirety of the Invasion as well, and then you actually had your WCW team led by Shane McMahon, the epitome of WCW, Shane McMahon. So you had no Bischoff, you have no Hogan, no NWO, no Nash, no Hall, no Steiner, no Goldberg, no Sting, no Flair. Yeah, so you had none of these guys. You're left with Booker T. Booker T's great, but he was never like he was never he was a champion at WCW. It was very much the tail end of things. DDP brought in was completely rendered a joke because he was put in a stupid storyline with The Undertaker where he was stalking his wife. So instantly DDP's not a threat anymore. And then that was all you had for WCW. It was then Sean Stasiak, Mark Jindrak, Chuck Palumbo, Sean O'Hare. I'm struggling to remember the lads they were there because they were just a bunch of guys. It was only really until you actually brought in the ECW guys, most of which were WWF guys by that point, that the alliance started to feel like a threat. And really, the only people they brought in from ECW was Tommy Dreamer and Rob Van Dam. So it was just, the whole thing was a mess. It was just poor timing on the most part of it. If they'd held off and done it a year down the line when all the Time Warner contracts had ended, and you would then been able to bring in the NWO, maybe, but I don't know.
Well, that's all we've got time for today, but please click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or WrestleTalk news. Subscribe to this podcast on your chosen podcast provider and this YouTube channel. Support WrestleTalk on Patreon. This has been the Zombie Luke Owen. I've been Undead Ollie Davis. Have a happy Halloween. And that was Rambling.